Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
And I'm Pops.
And we got Pops here in the house this weekend, so we're able to do both episodes. We're going to get the NFL done first and then the college. But we're going to do NFL first, so we got Week 12 of the season coming up. Thursday night game tonight, we got Bills, Texans. I guess big question for you, we're sitting here 7-3 a little bit, prior to midway. I'll just put you on the spot real quick. Any overarching predictions in terms of who you think Super Bowl? You think the Chiefs are going to make it in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean the bad thing about Chiefs specifically is that they're pretty much one loss away, in my opinion, from essentially getting knocked out. Like with the way that the Broncos are playing right now, like even with Bo Nix having his slump, like the defense is coming over the top. So out of the AFC West, like right now the Chiefs are really hurting as far as that goes, like almost to crisis mode. The Bills, like even though their record shows that they're so good, man, like I really don't like how inconsistent they are. Like they go down to Tampa, they blow the brakes off of them, but then they struggle week by week, it seems like, until Josh Allen just has one of these superior games like we know he's capable of doing. But it seems like he's not doing that as much this season, even though they still got the winning record, man. And honestly, I like what Vrabel's doing with the Patriots. To say who's going to go out of the AFC right now, honestly, it's a coin flip because, possibly, like the Ravens' inconsistencies, this season, they've struggled mightily. As of right now, I'm very leery, but it would have to be I would go with the Patriots.
It's not that I disagree with the Patriots in terms of trying to say that they're not a good football team. It's just that they're young.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that I sort of sit back and I just go, I just don't know what you're going to see in terms of the playoffs for Drake May. Because I agree with you from a standpoint of the Bills. Like Maul sent me the text last week. He just goes, "This is the same team that lost to Miami." Like the same team that got throttled by the Falcons, both of which are two teams that I think either one of us would sit back and be like, not great football teams.
Correct.
And I sent my buddy Zach, who we went to the Miami game last year together and the Falcons game this year. I go, here's how I feel about the Bills. I don't know whether they're a good team that just has some bad games or if they're a bad team that has some good games. Like I can't figure it out. Like, from their standpoint, that it's my biggest struggle with the Bills. Do I think the Patriots win the division? Yes. Like I think the Bills are going to them beating the Chiefs helps with the wild card. I still think it's going to come down to like a razor's edge with the Chiefs. Like I think the Chiefs, I don't think they're one game away from not getting in, but I will certainly give you the feeling that they are one. Every game feels important now, especially after how they lost this past week. You just sort of got that sense that the Broncos really didn't play that well. It was just like the Chiefs they can't get it going. It's like that identity they had last year of being like the comeback kids. And I think there was a stat during the game that showed like before this season, like the Chiefs in one-score games were undefeated in like the past 2 years, or only had like one loss, and now it's the complete opposite. Like they only have one win when it's a one-score game. So, which a lot of that ties into, I know me and Maul have said it, and I think that you've echoed it definitely on a few times, that the Chiefs' run game,
it's not there.
Yeah.
That was literally about what I was about to say. And, when you don't have that balance, Mahomes just is unable to do it all. And it almost seems like he's not clicking on, what always used to be there. Like everybody always used to talk about, 2-3 seasons ago, Kelsey just making up his own routes and stuff like that. I'm sure he's still doing it, but for whatever reason, him and Mahomes just aren't on the same page. And that really opened up a lot for their offense, just because nobody could guard Travis Kelsey. And he's showing glimpses this season of being better than last year, but it's still, they're not meeting up. You know, you had the Rashee Rice suspension, all that kind of stuff going on. Like, it's just been very tough for them.
Yeah. I've been surprised, and I put a lot more of it on Mahomes this year, which, just hear me out. Playoff Mahomes and regular season Mahomes, like when you look at the past few seasons in the playoffs, Mahomes is a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
But even last year going into the playoffs, like Mahomes is inconsistent at best. And I think some of that goes into like a fantasy aspect. Like he really doesn't wow you with like Burrow numbers or anything. Like they win close games, but at no point is it like Mahomes is going for 350 yards and 4 tutties every single, like that's not who the Chiefs are. Like, and that's not who Patrick's been. Like he's great when it comes to clutch moments, but from a standpoint of like him just blowing you away with stats, like 2 seasons ago when they won the Super Bowl, I'm not sure if you remember this, but like I think they almost lost to the Jets and Zach Wilson because like Mahomes is turnover prone, and it's caught up with him in terms of just no running game. Wide receivers are a little bit older. Like, yes, getting Rashee Rice back is great. I don't think that they like really have identified how to use like Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, and Thornton on the field at the same time. It seems like from an identity standpoint of their wide receivers, they're just unsure of how to manage all that, which anytime I say something like that, I think about when Bama had Waddle, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, and Jerry Jeudy. It's sort of this like, so you didn't lose the game, right? And you're like, no, we lost the natty. And it's like, how? And it's like, because they just couldn't figure out how to take all of these guys, put them on the field, and use it in cohesion. And it's super difficult. Like, I would give the nod to Andy Reid that he'll figure it out, but they're in a tough spot right now. So we start AFC, I guess. We'll skip the Bears. We'll get to the Bears here, after the Thursday night game. They're the first Sunday game, of which I didn't even know. I know the camera's not on because the computer can't sit far enough back to record us both at the same time. But I'm sitting here wearing a Steelers sweatshirt because me and my dad are going to a Steelers-Bills game in a few weeks. But they literally play the Bears, so that was sort of unintentional but also comical that that's what I have on right now as Pops is decked full head to toe in Bears gear. NFC, without here, I'll phrase it to you this way: who do you not want to play in the playoffs as the Bears?
The Rams.
Okay.
Like, we kind of talked about it. Obviously, I wasn't able to join in last week, busy with work, but like I said that game was going to, for me, was going to be who's going to win the NFC. Just the way that both teams have been playing all season. We always have our concerns with Sam Darnold because look what he did last year. Had the same, incredible season till he got to the playoffs. And it might shake out to be the same this year because obviously they're going to be a team that goes to the they'll definitely get a wild card spot with unless they lose every single game the rest of the season, which I don't see that happening. So
you're talking Seattle, right?
Yeah, I'm talking Seattle. So we might still see another drop in the playoff performance out of Sam Darnold. But up to this point, it's been them and the Rams. And this past week, that was the game of the week, in my opinion. And, we saw Matt Stafford again. I texted you guys, and I said, I appreciated his loyalty and everything, but could you imagine a young Stafford on a good team? The man's playing late 30s into his 40s with the Rams. And he won a Super Bowl in his first season with them. Like, could you imagine, had he been traded earlier on in his career, I get it, he had Megatron, but, like, tell me who else that they had on that team besides him and Megatron, and I couldn't tell you. When he was in Detroit all those seasons and he tried to make it work, he begged for, trades, begged for more players, and finally he was able to escape. And for me, seeing what he's still doing now, like, it's incredible. You keep him standing upright, and good luck facing the Rams right now.
I think of sort of a similar thing with Stafford. I agree with you from that standpoint of how many more does he have with the Rams. But after watching the Eagles against the Lions,
that defense.
Well, I sort of sat back and go, the Lions are just one Matt Stafford away from winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like, It wasn't from the standpoint that the Eagles, don't get me wrong, Eagles played tremendous on defense, but it was clear that Goff, which I saw the stat, that Goff is awful under pressure, like historically bad for quarterbacks, like doesn't win games. He has not won a game when he has had like more than a 50% pressure rate in an NFL game, period, like his whole career. It's one of those ones that if you can just get to him, he's going to mess up, which I give it to Dan Campbell. It's like this two-edged sword. The win was crazy. They try to kick it once. Awful kick. They knew they needed touchdowns. I think the Lions were the better team. They drove it on the Eagles multiple times, got inside the red zone. But I watched that game, and I'm just like, I really think that if the Eagles play the Lions again, the Lions are winning the game. Like, the Lions couldn't have played worse from a quarterback position and were right there at the end of the game, which shouldn't – the Lions should have got the ball back. Not saying they were going to do anything with it, but that pass interference call.
Oh, yeah.
Which this is like shocking for me to say. It's like one of the few times that I rejoiced in what Chris Collinsworth had to say when he was – it was a garbage call. I wasn't expecting that, but the Rams for sure – super difficult. The only thing about the Rams that it's not a caution or anything. It's just more like this outside of Puka, their offense revolves around him. Like Kyron Williams is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at other aspects of their team, especially like from a passing standpoint, it's not this like lethal combination. I think they beat you because of Stafford, and he doesn't turn the ball over. They have a very good defense, but from the standpoint of it's like, yo, you got to keep up with the Rams. That's not it at all. Like, I think the Rams are very beatable if you can just get over their defense. Like, if you can put some points up on the Rams, there's a very good chance that you're going to win the game, because I don't think the Rams are explosive offense. I think they're very disciplined, and they can win games through just like tight scores like they have been. But from the standpoint of like, yo, you got to put up 35 points to beat the Rams, I don't think that's the case at all.
And I think we're seeing that kind of out of Devontae Adams, at the back end of his career. He's not getting that separation. Like if you throw it his way, yeah, it's probably, I'd give it a 75% chance Devontae's coming down with it. But like from a standpoint of him having that breakaway speed, just the age has caught up to him. To rebuke what you were saying a little bit with the Lions, like, tell me a time also that you played a Lions team that went 0-5 on fourth down. I think it was like 0-5, maybe 0-6 on fourth down. Like, that just doesn't happen in Dan Campbell's offense. And, I mean, that speaks to a lot of, lost drives, lost potentials. Because, again, yes, obviously that win was brutal. There was no way you could – I mean, even the extra point was difficult, So watching a Lions team that could not convert on fourth down, like, obviously that worked in the Eagles' favor and killed a lot of drives, 5 to – I think they were 0-5 if I remember right.
Yeah, so it changed the outcome of the game, and that's why I sort of sit back and I go, don't get me wrong, the Eagles have the recipe to beat the Lions. I think it's just hard to beat a team twice when they know what to expect out of you defensively. But that sort of warms up for Week 12 tonight. Of all teams that I've already mentioned them once, Bills, Texans, CJ Stroud's already announced out tonight. This is, for me, this is the game that
the Bills lose.
Well, yeah, it's like one of these ones where it's like we get off this high horse of like, man, they beat Mahomes. Oh, they beat Baker. And it's like, yeah, but they lost to the Falcons and the Dolphins. And you sort of look at tonight's game and you're like, dude, is that what happens tonight? Is this and I'll just ask you that. Like, is this going to be Bills versus Chiefs or Bucks, or is this going to be what we've seen out of them versus the Falcons and the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly probably allude it to, and this will be the great telltale sign of what Bills team that shows up tonight. Maybe their team young, that immaturity aspect. Maybe they just play to the competition and that they're presented. And you used to have that where you would be looking at your next opponent, and then you end up getting your butt whooped. Very possible. I mean, because you think, hey, CJ's not playing. We got Davis Mills, which obviously if he was meant to be a starter, he'd be a starter in this league. And so I could see this going very poorly for the Bills, or they just keep it close when they have no business keeping it close with them. But you got to give props to Houston's defense, because D'Amico is able to get them dialed in. And, we've seen that year after year. And that defense can keep them in the game if you get Josh Allen to start turning over the ball.
I think it comes down to, can the Texans run? Like, if they can get Woody Marks, Nick Chubb, because that's honestly what's beat the Bills. Is like, you look at Bijan, which, don't get me wrong, in the same breath, I have to also say that him and Drake London had almost 200 yards each receiving in first half, which did the Bills in. You have to have some explosiveness in the rushing attack to really open up that passing, which the Texans have to have against the Bills. The Bills have really struggled against the run. I don't think that they have anyone on the Texans. And this isn't a slam at Chubb or Woody. It's more just saying, when I compare those guys to Bijan and Devon Achane, clear tier 1, tier 2, maybe even tier 3 type of guys that you sort of, Bijan's tier 1 with Achane, you start getting down, and I would argue like tier 3 with who was on the Texans backfield. But from your standpoint, defense is what's going to keep them in the game. Yep. Like, which don't get me wrong, Josh Allen's Superman. Like, he does some amazing things, but it's sort of like Caleb. If Caleb didn't have the arm that Josh does, and sort of Josh knows when to at least get rid of the football, is there's times that when Josh takes off running, he costs them plays because it's that like stay alive factor, just sort of like Caleb. Like, I can keep this going, but I think I brought it up either with you or with Maul, that if you take a sack, your drive percentage goes down to 7%, that it's now going to result into a touchdown.
Correct.
Like, it is a killer of a thing. And that's, for me, the game tonight will be decided by, can Houston run the ball? Can their defense keep pace? I would argue defense is going to keep pace all night. I think it's going to be a close game. Right now, Vegas has got the line at 5.5. Now, the over-under is 43, which I can definitely, you sort of look, most NFL games are in the, higher 40s, if not in the 50-point spreads. We were just talking about the
Oregon USC.
Yeah, Oregon USC was 59.5. So I know not NFL, but from that standpoint, they're definitely thinking it's going to be a lower scoring game. If that happens, I would argue the Texans win the game. If it's lower, if it's a tight game going into the fourth quarter, I think the Texans pull away. If not, I do think the Bills win by at least a touchdown. I'll take the Bills with a spread for them to win, but if the game goes in the under, give me the Texans. But any change on that?
No.
All right, your team, who I'm wearing, Steelers, Bears. Me personally, I really feel like this comes down to, does Rodgers play?
Yeah.
Rodgers has historically...
He's got the deed.
Oh, yeah. He's been y'all's dead for over a decade. So what's funny is you sent the text to us because you weren't on it last week. I still feel the same way. I was more impressed with how the Bears came out and won the game, but I still feel like the Bears are begging for a loss. Like, I haven't watched the Bears since the bye play a complete game. Am I wrong in saying that? Like, it's your team. How do you feel about the Bears? I know that they're winners of 3 straight, but you sort of look at, they need a miracle with Loveland against the Bengals to get that win. The following week, you guys ended up playing. Dang, I'm sitting here drawing a blank. I can see y'all against the team. I'm pulling it up right now.
The Giants.
The Giants, yeah. If it wasn't for Jackson Dart going out, I feel like you lose the game. And then last week against the Vikings, of which JJ did not play well at all, it takes a last-second field goal to get the win. And now, yes, you get the home game against the Steelers, possibly with or without Rodgers. How do you see the game going?
I mean, if we got Mason Rudolph playing, I think anybody would be happy with that as the opposing team. Maybe Montez Sweat rips his helmet off, and just swings it at him. But from the standpoint of everything that we've kind of talked to, like, I text you guys, like, the drives that the Bears are making are consistent. They're holding the ball. They're making good plays. But when they have to convert on those third downs, like they're ended up going 4 and out, and that's the problem that I'm seeing is that they're not finishing drives. They're settling for field goals, which Cairo Santos, he missed one last week. So, like, the Bears should have never been in that scenario to where it came down to the last drive of the game, for the Vikings to possibly win the game. I know the Bears got the ball back, but it should have never came down to that if Cairo made a field goal. Now, with that, I think he kicked 4 field goals. He was 4 for 5. So he kicked 5, made 4 of them. It's like those were 4 drives that the Bears were on the opposing side of the 50 and had the opportunities to convert and continue to go score, and it just wasn't happening. So that's what I see the most out of the Bears right now is like the defense has their own problems, but they're also doing really well in takeaways right now, and I think that's what ends up saving them because anybody can drive on the Bears. I'll be the first one to admit it. This defense is not to the strength that it needs to be. But on the offensive side of the ball, all these weapons out there, we're doing really good with the balance between Monungai and DeAndre Swift. Like, we've actually been able to get a run game established, and then the passing game just has to come along, obviously with Caleb. But, again, there's a lot of times where we're plagued with drops, and that's just going to naturally happen. But the problem is when that happens on third down, obviously it just kills the whole drive. So, overall from the Bears, going Soldier Field, dude, I'm going to stick with the Bears, from that standpoint, as long as, Darnell Washington is not running through half of our secondary, just on a little under route.
So did you see, this is your trivia then, did you see where on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast, they asked him how much he weighed?
Yeah, because he's listed for 260.
Yeah.
But right now he's like 311.
311. It was, it was hilarious because when he said 260, both of those guys were like, yeah.
Hey, no way.
You ain't 260. And he's like, well, I ain't weighed in. They were like, you weigh in every week. And then he was like, man, I forgot I was talking to NFL players. That's what him throwing those Browns guys or Bengals players, like, you just sort of sit back and you're like,
business decisions.
Which he is a guy that I sort of sit back and it's like, you kept waiting for it when he was at Georgia, but the problem was they had Bowers.
Yeah.
So you never really got to see him to the level that we're getting a little preview of now. But I look at him and I'm like, dude, he's 311 pounds. He looks like a grown man playing amongst boys out there just with the size. He's a weapon. And Rodgers has definitely been getting in the ball more and more, which has been taking pressure off of Metcalf to produce. It'll be interesting to see, does Warren play? I haven't heard the news. I haven't seen anything that said he's not going to play. If not, they're going to have to rely on Caleb Johnson, rookie, running the football. But to go back to your Bears rushing attack, I was just pulling it up because I was curious. When you look at the splits so far for DeAndre Swift, beginning the season, rough. 53 yards against the Vikes, 63 yards against the Lions. Against Dallas and the Raiders, he had 33 and 38. Then when you sort of start looking at the back half of the year, against Washington, first 100-yard game, 108. Against New Orleans, 124. Has a bad week against Baltimore in the loss, 45 yards. But then the last 2 weeks, almost getting to 100, had 80 yards against the Giants, 90 against the Vikings. So from that standpoint, you at least can go, hey, we're running the ball a little bit better. That's, to me, the linchpin to this Ben Johnson offense, especially when you think about what they had in Detroit. That's where I sort of see the Bears going next year. Is like, I think the Bears are going to target. They've got to target a running back for them to have this, like, what they want.
Yeah. Well, and I would argue, pull up side by side with Monungai. Like, they're able to go 1-2. Like, typically, DeAndre Swift's the back that gets us all the way down there, and then they typically give it to Monungai for the touchdowns. But for me, what I actually get to see, just watch Ben Johnson. He's won 3 straight, and you would think somebody's still beating his dog. Like, he approaches this so much different because I think his standard is just set so high, and he's not there yet. I've rarely seen a smile on that guy's face. And he's just not I think he's the coach that the Bears need because he's not he's not happy with what they're getting right now. He's continuing to get them better each and every week. Now, I'm not saying that the Bears are going to be in the Super Bowl or anything by any means this season, but I definitely do see them making it to the playoffs, in a wild card slot, which is a huge step in the right direction. After Matt Eberflus experiment, I think this is exactly what everybody as a Bears fan needs to see.
As we're watching the Pat McAfee show in the background, Aaron Rodgers risked non-participant at practice, which honestly isn't strange. He's a seasoned enough vet. He may be able to make it. So just wanted to throw that out there. A little uncertain. It says status uncertain, which it will be uncertain, I guarantee you, until 5 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, my fun guy averages, you look at most of his game splits in the 20-yard range, except for the week that Swift didn't play against the Bengals, and he had 26 carries for 176 yards.
Yes.
So, which they ran all over the Bengals. If it wasn't for how little time was left on the clock when they got the ball back after Flacco scored and they ended up passing it to Loveland, they would have just handed the ball off again because the Bengals could not stop. So, I'm not trying to take a shot at him, but the Bengals are not the team that I hold people to standards to. It's good that he ran because it shows at least you can run the ball, but the Bengals defense is historically bad. For me, going into this game, I want to pick the Steelers, but at the same time, I do. It comes down to Rodgers. I'm with you. If Rodgers doesn't play, I think the Bears win pretty handedly. If he does play, I think the Bears have a better offense than the Steelers have a defense. Like, if anything, the Steelers are showing us the same Steelers they've always been. Like, they are going to be around a 500 team. They may win their division. They may yield it to the Ravens. They'll sneak into the playoffs, and they'll lose in the first round. Like, that is who the Steelers are, in my opinion. If Rodgers plays, if it's close at the end of the game, I think Rodgers wins. I think by either stretch, the Bears either win by at least a touchdown or the Steelers come out on top.
And I will say, too, is that this week, is Jalen Ramsey got to serve a one-game suspension?
He does.
Yeah, so Jalen Ramsey's not playing on the defense, so that helps out a little bit with all the weapons we have at receiver as well.
We'll find out. Next Sunday game, Patriots, Bengals. Right now, Patriots minus 6.5. You talked about the Patriots. They're sort of your front runner in the AFC. This is the way I'll phrase this question is maybe because it's yet again sitting here on front of the screen with McAfee is Joe Burrow's practicing. Not saying he's not going to play this game most likely, but from a standpoint of why is he practicing? Because still they have a shot in the division. But the only way they're going to continue to have a shot in the division, you got to win these AFC games. You've got to put yourself in a position that they can climb into the division lead for the AFC North. Can they do that against the Patriots this week?
I don't think so. I mean, yes, the game's in Cincinnati, so you get the little bit of the home field advantage. But, I mean, Mike Vrabel, just listening to all the interviews and everything that they've been doing, this team is bought in. Like, I don't know how Mike has been able to use his own Patriot way to get them moving forward, but these guys are all bought in. They're there on time. I think the way he put it is like these guys this is their last chance for a lot of these guys on this roster, and they're taking it. They are taking every bit that they can. They're playing together, being a cohesive unit. They finally figured out a way to use Travion Henderson, and I think he's pretty much taken the running back role over Stevenson. And so right now the Patriots, until they start slowing down. And yes, early in the season, they lost to the Falcons. They lost to Miami, so we still got to be leery of who they are. But I think at the end of the day, man, like Bengals have showed all year that they're just not that team, despite, having Jamar Chase. Joe Flacco has been playing really good for a 41-year-old, but I'd give it to the Patriots.
Based upon what we just saw with that fun guy, against the Bengals, I'm Patriots.
Yeah.
There's no way that they didn't watch what the Bears did and say, look, how we beat these guys, run. And that's nothing against Drake May. It's like, we don't need you to go out there and sling it 40 times.
Yep.
If we can establish the run against the Bengals, which everyone has pretty much done this season, you have a great chance. Now, on the opposite end of the coin, I love Vrabel from a defensive. Like, he took the Titans to an AFC championship. You sort of think about where the Titans are today, post-fire and Vrabel, and you go, so he was that guy.
Yeah.
He made them that team. Like, he took a bunch of nobodies and turned them into a AFC championship team. And now they're just trying to get across the 50-yard line in those games. Like, really bad team. So, yeah, I'm with you. Patriots take the game. I like Patriots with the spread. Next game, Giants-Lions. Lions come off ugly loss against the Eagles. Just can't move the football. Giants, on the other hand, haven't heard about Jackson Dart, if he's going to play or not. I don't think he is, so you got to get another week of Jameis Winston, who is the ultimate wild card in terms of what you're going to get. Like, he is either going to be the guy that we saw in that snow game, throwing touchdowns, making miraculous runs, giving awesome pregame, postgame, midgame speeches, or you're going to see him throw 4 picks. How do you think he fares against this Lions team?
So I just looked up. Jackson Dart was taking first quarterback reps today at practice. So honestly, I think the Giants are like, hey, we need our best guy out there on the field. I was surprised with how Jameis played last week. I thought we saw early on. I mean, they were beating the Packers for a little while, and which is just something that Jameis was taking the opportunity that he was given and executing the way that he was supposed to. Obviously, they ended up losing to the Packers, but I was overall impressed. Now, as far as Jackson Dart coming back, obviously, playing against the Lions are just such a tough team, and that's the one thing is we can't take away from all the issues that they have in their secondary. Like, Brian Branch seems to be playing phenomenal football this season, helping out, building up that secondary. And then, you got to deal with Aiden Hutchinson almost every single play. Like, I just don't see the Giants having enough manpower to be able to do it. Obviously losing the battering cam, really hurt their chances. And it's not even chances of it's more so chances of being competitive, in every single game, which what we were seeing out of them. Now that's kind of just completely depleted, and I give it to the Lions, especially going back to Ford Field after a loss. Like, have fun.
Yeah, I don't see Dan Campbell. He's become one of those coaches that it's like I don't see him dropping 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally understand if the Lions were having to go play. The Rams is another really good playoff caliber team, but playing the Giants, yeah, give me the Lions in the game. Then, huge game for NFC North fans outside of, but I know that you would wish both teams would just, and not even in a tie, but in a loss. Vikings go to the Packers, and I don't know. Like, it's one of these ones where the Packers, at the beginning of the season, I think all 3 of us were just like,
wow.
Yeah, like, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. And then every single week, I'd say since week 2, it's sort of like the Bills, but in my opinion, it's even worse. Is that when Jordan Love isn't on, dude, they couldn't beat the Browns. Could not beat the Browns. They lost to the Panthers at home. Like, Jordan Love's either on it or you're losing the game. Like, I've never really seen a team that from an offensive standpoint, one player is determining whether or not you win. Which I get, it's a quarterback, but I've seen Favre throw 4 picks in a game.
And still win a game. Oh.
So, but on the other side, you got JJ.
Well, and so I ask you this: who's one player from the Packers we haven't heard about since week 1?
Micah had the big sack last week.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so I heard this story. I can't remember if I shared it with you guys or not, but there's a reason why the Browns didn't trade Miles. There's a reason why the Raiders didn't trade Max Crosby. Obviously there's an issue that Jerry saw, regardless if you like the guy or not. But I'm not saying Micah was necessarily a cancer, but, he had a lot of things going on. He said some things on his podcast, stuff like that. Like, in my opinion, he hasn't shaped out to what they expected to bring him in as. And, you always talk about it too, like, he's the one who gets all the attention and this, that, and the other. With that being said, like, that defense isn't producing the fruits that trade was supposed to bring to them. Week 1, we're like, holy crap! Like this was the right move for the Packers. You know, they blew out the Lions, and I just don't feel like I've seen as much this season in that standpoint. And I mean, you're spot on. Like Jordan Love is a liability at best, and with Josh Jacobs being hurt last week, like it's I think they're going to get an escape this week just because they're playing the Vikings. And again, you said it, like we don't know who 9 is, but the 9 that we knew only handed the ball off at Michigan, and that's, you know, Blake Corum was the one who got them to the national championship for that offense. So I hate to say it, but I think the Packers are going to win this game.
Outside of the tie, which was ended in 40-40, just listen to the score. This is my only refute to this, like the Micah claim. There are 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Browns, 13-10. Panthers, 16-13. Eagles, 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
If in 2 of those games, if you had just scored 2 touchdowns with extra points, you win.
Yeah.
In the other game, if you just scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal, you win. Like from a defensive standpoint, that's where I just sort of sit back and I go, they're doing their job. Like from in the games that they've lost, you can't say it's because defense didn't hold their end of the bargain up. Like they've done that. Now, from a standpoint of has Micah, I'm never going to give Jerry Jones credit. I think you can watch the Dallas defense this year and go, man, they'd be a lot better if they had Micah.
Yeah.
Now, who did they go trade for? They traded for Quentin Williams, used one of their first-round picks that they ended up getting. Do I love Quentin? He was tremendous at Bama. He is an interior guy. He's great for stopping the run. Does he get some pass rushes? Yes. Is he going to get a few sacks? Yes. He's not going to get double-digit sacks. Like, he's not this guy that it's like he's going to take a tight end to block or a running back because he's not on the edge. Like, it changes the offense when you have a guy that can get around that edge. Dallas doesn't have that now. Green Bay, this is the thing with Micah that I think is, like, real key to remember. When you think about when Reggie went, now, comparing him to Reggie, I said that when the trade happened. He's not going to be Reggie. Like, I still remember when Lawrence Taylor, they had him on the NFL, like, 100 greatest players, and they were like, you're the greatest defensive player. And he's like, I don't want to ever say that because he's like, and they're like, well, who would you say? And he goes, if it's not me, he goes, the guy I always point to is Reggie White.
Yeah.
He's like, and they talked about that, you know, him tossing, you know,
a 300-pound man.
yeah, lineman with one arm, just unreal strength. When you look at the Packers defense before this year, you'd go, can you name somebody on it?
Not besides Gary.
Like, yeah, like the Packers don't have, like, that's sort of been the Packers on both sides of the ball. Like, they just continue to, like, not go make free agent signings. They just draft through the draft, but they're always too good of a team to get a really high draft pick. So I'd argue that most of their picks, it's a coin toss of whether or not they're even a starter, much less like a huge difference maker. So I think Micah was a great move for them to go get from the term of having a really good player that they didn't have on the roster. The issue that I think it drives for a lot of fans is they see what they gave up to go get him, and they go, well, you're not living up to the Reggie standard.
Yeah.
And that's what echoes in Packers' minds. That being said, I like Packers.
Yeah, and like just going forward, I mean, you see the frustration boiling over between Addison, between Jefferson. Like, something's got to change this offseason. And the problem is like once you've already shown your hand, like JJ's our guy. Well, it's like now you can't really go out and get a quarterback in the offseason unless it's going to be, you know, your Jameis Winston, who's supposed to be able to mentor these guys. And it's just like, I don't know what they're going to do in this situation from the quarterback standpoint, because time and time again, even just last week, you know, against the Bears, I was sitting there biting my nails, and I was like, all right, this dude has not completed a pass, you know, for the last however many third downs it was. And it's just like JJ has not been able to, his passing game, you know, it's just not there.
Yeah. So, next game, Seattle goes to Tennessee to play the Titans, it's almost like this team that we haven't talked about here because they've been terrible outside of the rare instance that they beat the Cardinals. Seattle, very close game against the Rams. I think what you pointed out is very Seattle, unless they just have a total collapse, is getting in the playoffs, and I think that they are going to be a very difficult team to beat.
Yes.
JSN's playing great. Sam Darnold, honestly, is playing really good football.
Charbonnet.
They were in the game
Yeah.
the whole time. It wasn't like the Rams just owned them. It was a close game throughout. So going into this, I think the spread's -13. Give me the spread because I think they're going to murder the Lions.
And that's the thing, too, is like at what point do you put Cam Ward on the bench just to save him going into next year? Because honestly, I don't think he's going to have they're playing for the top pick right now, and that's just how I see it going throughout the rest of the season. So it's like, how long do you leave a guy out there like that to possibly get a season? At this point, it'd be a career-type injury, to where it slows his progression going into year two. Like, I would probably pull him moving forward because also he's going to get a new coach at the end of this season, so he's already going to be in his next system in year two. And we talk about it all the time, like these first-round draft pick or the first pick of the draft. These quarterbacks going through system after system after system. And it's just like these guys need stability for their own development in the system. I mean, just look at, Caleb Williams. Yes, he still makes dumb decisions, but you see the progression that's happening when he actually has a good coach and put in a system where Ben Johnson creates to what Caleb's strengths are, and we saw with Baker. I think Baker's the best example out there is how many systems he went through in Cleveland before finally getting shipped out of town like he was the problem. And we all know that he wasn't.
Game of the week, in my opinion, Colts 8-2 go to Kansas City. Surprising line. Kansas City's picked -3.5 by Vegas. Do you like the line? Where do you sit on it?
I mean, I could see after the struggles last week with the Falcons, of why they're choosing that way. Or sorry, the 2 weeks ago, but also the Colts are coming off of a bye week, so. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Chiefs. Besides being an Arrowhead, like, what time is the game at? Nighttime?
Yep, 1 p.m.
Yeah, so the sun's going to be out in Kansas City. Like, dude, I think that I would take the Colts. That's where I'm leaning at right now. Like, they've been able to still move the ball. Danny Dimes has finally hit that point of the season where he's made a couple of questionable calls that's lost him the game. Against the Falcons, or they barely beat the Falcons, but then the week before they lost to the Steelers. But Shane Steichen's got them dialed in, and I think they're going to beat the Chiefs.
The game, to me, will come down to, I think it's a great test for the Colts because of Spag on the opposite side going against Danny. Like, it gives Danny this, like, honest to God, a true playoff scenario type of defense. You're just going to see some exotic stuff from Spag.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole game. We can talk about Mahomes, Kelsey, all of what they do defensively against the Chiefs. Does it matter? Absolutely. But I think more importantly, it's how does Danny play against what he's going to see from Spag. Because for me, I know why Vegas has the Chiefs favored. It's in Arrowhead. The Chiefs are 5-5. They really can't afford another loss.
Yep.
They're trying to scratch back in the playoffs. So everything is sort of setting the stage. Like, the Chiefs know they need a win. They're going to come out and get a win. I sit back and I go, how does he handle what they're going to see on Sunday? And to me, I think it really sets the stage for the rest of the season. If the Colts come out and beat the Chiefs and he's able to weather the storm through what Spag's going to send, dude, the Colts are a Super Bowl favorite out of the AFC. In my opinion.
Yeah,
But if he gets really roughed up and looks, New York Danny Dimes, I think it also sets the stage that everyone goes, okay, this is how we beat the Colts.
Yeah, and I think my X factor for the game is what Chris Jones are we going to see? Is he going to get the pressure up the middle so JT can't run? Or, I think that for me would be the player to watch in this game is what is Chris Jones going to do in the middle? Because we already know that they've got an explosive back in the backfield, and if that run game gets going, then they're going to have to start loading the box, and then like you said, it's going to be a matter of how Danny Dimes is able to decipher, what's going on in the secondary. But, dude, right now, I don't like what the Chiefs are doing, and I would take the Colts.
How many yards does JT have to have in order to be rushing for you to be like, they beat the Chiefs? Like, what's the min? 100?
For them to beat them?
Yeah. That you hear a stat line, and that stat line tells you, yep, that's about where I think he needs to be in for them to get the win.
92.
Well, it's not even 100.
Well, last week the Broncos only had 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. I was thinking 100 sort of that sweet spot number for me, just because I think that really, what that tells me is outside of like having one 80-yard run, it's a consistency and a dedication to keep running the football throughout the whole game, that you feel comfortable enough in your offense that when it's in the fourth quarter, you're like, we're still able to pick up 3 or 4 yards a pop, keep giving him the football, wear down the defensive front. If they can do that, they win.
Yeah, and I would say that obviously, you come back to, if I had to look at the carries too, like I would hate to see, 4 carries, 92 yards, but like, realistically 15 to 20, about an average workload for a running back. If I saw that with 92 yards, I was like, all right, they were able to, win this game. But then again, Danny Dimes could pop up and, he went 15 for 29 and had 4 interceptions with 150 yards.
Yeah, 100%. Jets, Ravens coming up. You got the Jets who are now making the switch over to Tyrod Taylor. You got the Ravens who Lamar was back on the injury report, not to the point that he's being downgraded out of the game, but he's back on the injury report. The Ravens are in the exact same spot as the Chiefs. However, I feel like both teams are going in opposite directions. You feel like the Ravens are starting to climb out of the hole, but the Chiefs are going deeper and deeper into the hole. Do you think that the Ravens are able to come out with a victory on Sunday?
I mean, they have to. At this point, it's pretty much put up or shut up. And I don't know. I guess I would have to take a peek, but I feel like I haven't heard Derrick Henry's name being called a lot this season. In comparison to last year. Like last year, that was primarily their offense. It's either him or they're running the read option with Lamar, and it's just like those types of things have not been available to him this season. I mean, just last week they did the fake with Mark Andrews. He ends up running for a rushing touchdown for like 50 yards. It was like 4th and 1. They thought they were going to do like a tush push, and then Mark Andrews was able to slide around the end and took it off to the end zone. So honestly, and maybe it's Mike McDonald leaving. That defense is just not playing the same way that they've been notorious for all these years. But they too have a lot of questions that need to be answered of who they are as a team, because after last season, I did not see them being a 500 team.
Injuries hurt. The other thing about the Ravens that we sort of knew from last year, their defense really didn't go out and grab a whole lot of new talent. They really struggled in the secondary, and yet again, we've seen similar trends this year. The good thing for the Ravens is
they're playing the Jets.
The Jets are awful. No Garrett Wilson, like going to Tyrod. It's a mess. Like,
they can't block for Brees.
The Jets got rid of Sauce, who honestly wasn't playing tremendous, but still, he's a starting NFL corner, and you get rid of Quinnen. It just hurts your team. So I have the Ravens in the game. Next game, Browns-Raiders. Here's how I'll phrase this. Who wins the game? Max Crosby and the Raiders defense going against Shador, or Myles Garrett and the Browns defense going against Geno?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that Max Crosby is going to make Sanders' game just honestly huge for him. It's the whole point. I was reading the other day or listening to Max talk. He's like, I got a lot of respect for Dion, for that family, but my job is to go out there and make it miserable for him. And I mean, we already know that guy's a psycho. I personally think that the Raiders are going to win this game. I don't have too much faith in Shador, not from the standpoint of the name, but like go look at last week. he finally gets the opportunity and he goes 4 for 16. Like that's just it's crucial to be that inaccurate. Like he had a guy wide open in the end zone. Yes, he was on the run, but he just overthrew the guy, for a wide open touchdown. Like there was plenty of things that Shador just hasn't been exposed to yet. And with somebody like Max Crosby in your face almost every time he's down the field and he's talking to you the whole entire game, I think we're going to see a pretty rattled Shador.
4 for 16 against the Ravens for 47 yards, average 2.5 yards a completion, long of 25 yards, which that was actually a pretty well thrown ball.
To Fannin?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, I give him that. 1 interception, 2 sacks. The immediate thing when I asked you the question I had in the back of my mind is I feel like this is a scene out of Remember the Titans for the Raiders defense. We're going to blitz him all night.
Yeah.
For a rookie quarterback, I don't care who you are, whether you're Shador, whether you're Joe Burrow on your rookie year, they are going to try to get you rattled because they understand that young quarterbacks, when rattled, typically make bad decisions. One of two things. Either A, you throw the ball into something that you didn't need to and you turn it over, or you take a sack.
Mm-hmm.
One of those two things is more likely to happen. And either one either instantly kills the drive or most likely kills the drive. So I sit back and that's where I'm in the same boat with you. I don't see how the Browns win the game. Like it's not trying to hate on Shador, but at the same time, this is a guy. The Shane Gillis joke resonates in my mind. Like he got his number retired for almost winning the Alabama. This is not. Mel Kiper was wrong.
Yes.
And I think it's going to show itself every time that Shador is on the field this year. That he wasn't the guy that we were led to believe by Mel Kiper.
Oh, 100%. And, I think we talked about it plenty when he was at Colorado. Like, he didn't make the throw unless he knew it was open, and unfortunately in the NFL, you can't do that. You got to throw, you got to anticipate the guy's going to be there, swoop in and catch it at the last second. Obviously sometimes they might be there, you might see them last second, they're open, you hit it, or you hit the check down because it's open. But in the NFL, you got to play to a higher level of anticipation of what's going to happen based on the defense that you're given. And Shador just hasn't been able to show that.
Next game, you got the Jags Cardinals. Jags really surprised me last week. Come out and just
mollywop the Chargers.
Yeah, dude. Like who would have thought that? Not on my bingo card. Which I will say, dude, the Jags defense is for real. Like it reminds me a lot of the shades of the Blake Bortles year that they ended up losing against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. That they have a tremendous defense. They can ride that defense to wins. I think they do the same against the Cardinals. Surprisingly, it's only a 3-point spread. I think it's everything about this team. It's sort of it goes back to like with Maul, and that's sort of where I sit back with it. If they didn't have Trevor Lawrence, if they had a better quarterback, the Jags are probably the favorite outside of the Colts in the AFC.
Yeah.
Like, with the defense, like. The Jags should be a completely feared team right now, but because of the inconsistencies on offense driven by Trevor Lawrence, because ETN's having a great year. It comes down to Trevor. Like, does Trevor win the game against Cardinals or does he lose it?
Yeah, and it's also like, again, like you just alluded to, what version are we going to see? Are we going to see the version that was able to beat the Chiefs, earlier in the season, last week's version of them? And I would hope, you would think that he would be able to roll off the momentum and keep the team rolling. What are they, 7-3 or 6-4? You'd think they would still be able to keep that rolling going in, playing a Kyler Murray-less Cardinals team. And I'm honestly surprised that spread's not higher because I think the Cardinals are, they've got Trey McBride, and in my opinion, who else?
Guys running the football.
But I mean, like we talk, yeah. But he's been nowhere to be found. Pretty much since being drafted.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that he has
Correct.
He just hasn't lived up to that billing.
And it goes to show that it was JSN.
I think it goes to
Don't get me wrong. He was a beast in college. I will give him that credit.
and that's where I was going to go with it. Is I think it speaks to the disparity of talent at the position. I think from a talent wise, corner is the most difficult job in football. Like you can't touch the guy within 5 yards. You can't hold him. You can't like everything is designed for you to fail at your job. And in college, it's even. I feel like college, the refs are even worse. Like you're just going to get some ticky-tack calls that usually in the pros you don't get. You think about who he had to play against. Like he was never really going against League One corners every single week. Like I could say the same about Jeremiah Smith. Do I think Jeremiah Smith is a heck of a football player? 100% for Ohio State right now. Do I think that he continues to produce at that level, at the NFL level? I doubt it from a week in, week out basis. Like it's just, that's what makes guys like Jamar Chase and,
Jefferson
and, Megatron, some of these guys that come out, it's what makes them so unique and rare and Hall of Famers is that it is just so difficult that on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis to come out knowing that it's like the defense knows who you are to continually produce. And like you pointed out, since he's come out, more times than not, I see Marvin Harrison struggling to just catch the football.
Yep.
Right now. So yeah, give me the Jags. Going back to week 1, what happens? What's more likely to happen? Do you think is it more likely that the Cowboys win or that Jalen Carter spits on Dak?
Yeah, I think here we're going to see. I personally think we're just going to see the Eagles walk all over the Cowboys. Like Cowboys kind of got a warm up game last week, beating up on the Raiders. But dude, in my opinion, like with the way that the defense of the Cowboys been playing pretty much all season. Although I got to be careful with my words because the Eagles' offense is a big question mark as well. And right now the report this week is there's a lot of turmoil in the locker room right now, and they're throwing all the shade at Jalen for his inability to pass in zone coverage. That's a big talking point. A.J. Brown's been a talking point all year. But if you looked at last week, who was Jalen Hurts throwing to primarily? It was A.J. Brown. So I think Jalen's doing the best with what he's given. I've told you guys time and time again, I might have been a little more too dramatic about it, but that OC position, in my opinion, for the Eagles is up for grabs. And the reason being is, what did Kellen Moore do last year? Like, they turned around first and second down, they're handing it to Saquon. And more often than not, you see Jalen drop back, and if that pass is incomplete, now we're second and long compared to, first and 6, second and 6, second and 5, like just because Saquon's able to eat up yards when you need it. And I don't think they're utilizing him to that same ability. I told you guys by this point in the season last year, Saquon had 6 games over 100 yards. This year he's only had 1. And that to me is alarming when you have an MVP in your backfield and you're just not using him the right way. And me personally, I think a lot of the Eagles' struggles this season is not on Jalen. It's on the coordinator for his play calling all season.
So who has more rushing yards this year, Saquon or
Javonte Williams? Yeah, and that's the problem, man.
Who has more passing yards, Dak or Jalen?
Oh, Dak.
Dak.
Yeah.
Who's got more receiving yards, Pickens or Devontae Smith?
Pickens. Yeah.
Like, call me crazy. I think the Cowboys win this game, and it's because of the inefficiencies of the Eagles' offense. Like we saw it week 1, the Cowboys were in the game, and I think we took a lot of it and just said, "Oh, that's because
Jalen Carter got suspended."
Don't get me wrong, Jalen Carter is a freak of nature and plays extraordinarily well, and I think he makes a huge impact for them. But from a standpoint of their ability to score, their hope is doing exactly what you said. I think that's what we're going to get to in the later half of the season is that they're going to just say, look, we're trying to keep Saquon healthy for a playoff run, but we got to get wins, so you got to hand them the ball.
Yeah.
You got to feed the beast. And if they don't, they're going to lose this game. I think Cowboys, but I'm going to stick with it. I think the Cowboys come out and beat the Eagles. My prediction. Falcons Saints, just dumpster fire of the NFC South. Penix is out. We were just talking about him. So he had tore his right ACL multiple times in college. It is now a partial tear of his left ACL. So now he's done for the remainder of the season. Lucky for the Falcons is they have a multi-million-dollar, one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history, guaranteed money, sitting in the wings with Kirk Cousins, going against Saints. Saints at 2-8. And if you sit back and heard that, you go, okay, the Falcons should win this game. And then I go, oh, the Falcons are 3-7. You go, like, I don't know which. Right now, New Orleans is picked to win. Do you take that as just New Orleans is better, or do you take that as they don't trust Kirk Cousins to win?
I think it's purely they don't trust Kirk Cousins to win. You know, like he was given the one shot when Penix was out earlier in the season. They lost the game. Kirk looked pretty bad, which honestly, like, knowing, you know, watching that quarterback documentary series, I don't think Kirk is malicious in that intent of coming out and looking like that. It's just the guy has not had the opportunity to go out and be the starter. And the one time he does, he just didn't have those reps. It's just like the preseason, you know, just not getting that repetition, that game speed. And when you got to get that in the middle of the season, man, it's just tough. Now, as far as playing the Saints, dude, I couldn't tell you what they have going for them. You know, if Rattler's obviously probably going to be on the bench, but it's like we're going past it to Schuff. Is that his name? Schauf. You know, Shook. But it's like they have so many problems that we alluded to back when they got Derek Carr, you know, early in the beginning of this podcast. Like, the Saints are not going to be a serious team until they do a complete rebuild. And, you know, Jordan is going to have to be gone. Kamara's going to have to be gone. They're probably going to move Chris Olave in the offseason because, you know, like, that's another guy that's just wasting all his potential down there. Like, dude, I give it to the Falcons just purely based on the weapons that they have on that side of the offense.
The Saints have played far better than I thought they would going into the season. They have honestly played pretty competitively. Like, they haven't folded. They haven't given up. They've played good games. The Falcons, on the other hand, you sort of sit back and you look at them, and it's like, here's a team that got murdered 30-0 by the Panthers, got popped by Miami. Then, you know, they lose last week again, and you just sort of sit back and you go, dude, more times than not, this Falcons team continues to disappoint more than they rise to the occasion. I like the Saints. Like, I think that Cousins plays well. I think from that repetition standpoint that you talked about, that he comes in and he has the ability to have a good game. It comes not really down to Kirk Cousins. It comes down to coaching for me. Like, Raheem Morris, it's clear this was a bad fit. Like, two things I go back to. So I'll bring the more recent one to light first, which is they said no to Belichick, which, whether right or wrong, they said no. I would argue it was wrong just from the standpoint of who they went with Raheem, that I don't think was the correct choice. We're seeing week after week that they keep not living up to the expectation. Then I want to go back to another awful decision that the Falcons made. You ready for this one? I think a lot of people have forgotten this. Do you remember when the Ravens had Lamar on that restricted contract, that at any moment a team could have came in with a first-round pick and said, we are going to take Lamar from you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you put him in this position with how you signed him. And there was a lot of rumors that the Falcons were going to be that team to do it.
Yes.
And the Falcons just go, no, we don't think he's worth it. Looking back, was that the right or was that the wrong decision?
Terrible decision.
Like, awful, awful, awful decision. Like, you sort of sit back and you go, dude, can you imagine Lamar on this team?
With Bijan.
With Bijan and with Drake London and some of the other, even I know we keep saying Kyle Pitts year think's better? Like what they have now, or
Lamar.
Lamar?
Yeah.
It's Lamar. From an organization standpoint, they have hired guys at the GM and at the head coaching position who have made horrifically bad judgment calls. And we've talked about this a ton in terms of, and the reason I bring up the Belichick thing is, why did they say no to Belichick?
He wanted too much control.
Wants control.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you go, I get that Belichick had Brady. Belichick also had to draft Brady. He had to put guys around Brady. Brady wasn't out there slinging for 400 yards every game. He built the defense. Like, heads up, remember the Super Bowl that Brady won with them against the Rams? How many points did the Rams score? Trace. 3 points. Like, Belichick was known for being a defensive mind. Like, he could field a defense. He made decisions. We talk about all the time of how they would just trade away draft picks and go get some guy that they're like, man, that dude's past his prime. And sure enough, looks like the All-Pro from years ago because they knew how to evaluate talent. The Falcons don't know how to do that. Like, that's why I like the Saints. Please put the Falcons out of misery. Get the head coach fired. Can we please start anew? Go to UNC, pull Belichick out, and say, "Help us, Bill." Something better than what they've been doing. Me personally. All right, Sunday night game: Bucks Rams. Yeah, Baker, who at the beginning of the year I would say is MVP candidate, and it's not that he just hasn't been as clutch with the game-winning drives as he was at the beginning of the year. Going against your sort of Super Bowl favorite from the NFC right now with the Rams, do the Rams continue their winning ways?
Yeah, and in this game, I personally think that the Bucks are going to drop 2 straight. Which is kind of an anomaly, when you think about what they have. But this is the same thing that we saw dial up last year, where the Bucks came into the playoffs almost a 500 team. They drop the games that they're not supposed to be dropping. Last week was very concerning because we all know that the Bills' defense is not, they're not a playoff defense in my opinion. They're able to escape games because they got Josh Allen on the other side, and he's able to stay on the field long enough to give them breaks. However, moving into next week, I just think the Rams have way too much going on. Bucks are hurt. It just goes to show, the lack of Bucky Irvin over the season. Mike Evans goes out, don't have Godwin. Like, there's too many pieces missing for the Buccaneers right now to come out and win these games against the big teams.
Yeah, the Rams defense, and I also look at Emeka Egbuka was on a roll, had the hamstring tweak, and I just know from tweaking my own hamstring that that's not an easy recovery. That usually takes months of not trying to go out, and I've never been an NFL player, never will be, but just from a standpoint of even in college, you tweak your hamstring, trying to just have the explosiveness that you once had, it's not, it is a time thing, and it does not heal quickly, and it takes very little to where you can just be walking, and your hamstring just gives out on you again. You're just like, dude, like, what is going on? It's not an easy injury to get over, and ever since that injury happened to Egbuka, I don't feel like the Bucs have been the same team offensively that they were going into that. So yeah, I'm with you. Give me the Rams. I like the Rams. All right, you ready for Monday night? Panthers 49ers, a stat of all stats.
Go for it.
You know what has determined every Panthers win this season?
Coin toss?
The coin toss. Dude, if they win the coin toss, they win the game. If they lose the coin toss, they lose the game.
Huh.
The coin toss is undefeated so far this season for the Panthers. So I ask you, do the Panthers have a chance against the Niners?
I don't think so. I mean, we thought we were going to see a drop off with, Brock Purdy coming back, and I mean, he played exceptionally well. They really whooped up on the Cardinals last week. I think it was definitely a 3, possibly a 4 possession game. They put up 40 points on offense. Like, Kyle Shanahan's got them rolling right now. They've been able to make the adjustments on defense, losing Bosa and stuff like that. Like, I enjoyed the success that Carolina's having right now. Like, I thought really cool. Dowdle called his touchdown last week. I don't know if you saw that or not, but he went over to the coach. He's like, hey, this is going to work. And then he actually got all the way to the head coach and was like, coach, call this play. And he's like, all right, if they're playing back, I'm not going to call it, but if they come up, I'll call it. And then he called it, and Dowdle took it for a touchdown. So, I mean, they've got a good thing rolling. I think we're finally seeing the shift of the Carolina Panthers after the Frank Reich years, mixed with a little Matt Rule. But, dude, off of right now on paper, I think the 49ers are a better team.
I agree. The thing that worries me about the Panthers, if you look at last week, they were losing to the Falcons by double digits. They came back and won the game. Like, Bryce Young had a tremendous game, threw for over 400 yards, brings it back. Still took overtime to win. But the Panthers have been playing games tight. And that's how they've been getting their wins. They keep it close, If they get down early, like they did against the Falcons to the Niners, I think all that does is encourage the Niners to give CMC the football.
Yeah.
And I think that's a dangerous recipe for any team, even the Rams, to have to just be like, hey, mate, go out there and tackle this dude now, like, because they're in the league. Don't like that for the Panthers. So for that, I'm with you. I think the Niners get the Monday night win. Would it surprise me if the Panthers won? No. How did the Panthers win? I think it goes back to the guy that you said on the opposite side for them. It's Rico Dowd. Like, dude, my man's having an AP type of year. Like, he is playing phenomenal. So if the Panthers can run the football against a Fred Warner-less and Nick Bosa-less Niners defense, then there's a great chance that they win this game. But for the Panthers to win, they gotta run the football. Plain simple. That's week 12 as we finish Monday night. Anything else that you want to add?
I mean, just on top of what the Panthers are doing, like, I think it's incredible. Like, we finally get a coach that's getting enough time to turn it around, not getting fired in his second season. And I think it's good, again, for a young guy like Bryce Young. It's like, finally he's got a guy that's able to coach him, and they're seeing the success finally start to pay off. Like, that's the problem now. Like, we're seeing it with NIL and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, money doesn't solve everything. Coaching changes doesn't solve everything. It comes back to, again, that human relation aspect of a coach actually being able there long enough to earn the trust, earn the, just the willingness of the players to go out and perform for them. And I think I like what I see out of the Panthers. I don't know necessarily. I mean, shoot, if the Buccaneers keep losing, like, they're going to be on top of the division with them. And like, that's going to be a fun race, because that's what I was getting at with, we saw this last year with Baker. We also saw it with Kirk. Like, we all thought the Falcons were going to run away with the NFC South, and then it was like, well, who's going to get it? Is it going to be the Falcons? Is it going to be the Buccaneers? And like, now if you add in the Panthers into that mix, like, it's just good overall for football for, 3 out of your 4 teams in your division to, be competitive.
It also goes to this point of get your young quarterbacks in weapons, which I think the Bears have done. You sort of look at how the Bears went out. Not only did they get DJ Moore, then they got Ramadunze, who has really come on this year in his sophomore year. Luther Burden's played well.
Yeah.
Go get
Loveland.
Like, you surround your young guy with talent. And because why? You sort of sit back and go, if he can't do it with all this, he ain't going to do it with anybody else. Like, you put him in a situation where he should have favorable odds to win. You look at the Panthers, and it's like, dude, nothing against Adam Thielen. It's like, why did he leave the team with receiving? It's because that's how bad the receiving core was last year. Like, they had no one else.
And Legette's pretty much been a non-factor since showing up.
But McMillan's been that dude.
Yes.
McMillan's played tremendous football for them. Like, he is, honestly, once Abuka's gotten hurt, he's really sort of solidified himself as probably being one of the better wide receivers in the class. I think when Abuka's healthy, paired with Baker, it's Abuka.
Yeah.
But you can't argue that McMillan hasn't performed to the level of a first-round pick.
100%.
He has really showed up for them, and it is good for the Panthers. So I'm right there with you. But that wraps up, the NFL Week 12 episode. We'll get the college films here in a second and get it out to you guys. But thanks for tuning in. Time to pull chalks.